Last year I decided to put my garden space on hold and not do any planting because I wanted to focus on the refillery and my antique booth. I was able to do that last year, but as you can see, it left my garden looking a little bit overgrown. Over the course of one growing season, there has been a lot of trees that have taken over. Blackberries are all over the place, and there's a lot of weeds to clean up. I have been itching to get into this garden. I figured today I would take y'all along with me as we clean up the garden space, really get all of the stuff that is overgrown out so that we can start planting. Now, a lot of what I'm taking out is blackberries. I don't necessarily want to get rid of all of my blackberries, but they were here before I planted the garden space, and now they're slowly starting to encroach and take over. So I think I would much rather just get rid of everything that's here and then plant what I would like to see for blackberries in more of a contained situation. The taking over of my garden beds is not necessarily what I want them to do. So I was working on clearing out these blackberries and I saw these, which are mantis egg cases. You definitely want to leave these in the garden. Praying mantis are great predators for other types of insects that you do not want in the garden. So I am going to cut this out, but I'm not going to remove it from the garden. I'm just going to take the stalk that they're on and move them to like the edge of my garden and stake them in the ground so that they can still hatch out and everything. But we don't want all of this here, but we do want these. I've decided that pruning these blackberries is going to be a little bit easier if I have some pruners, and I broke mine not last year but the year before last, so we're gonna run to the store real quick and pick up some new pruners. Garden center just opened. Mom and I were here last week and they didn't have it open yet because they just moved into this building. But Mom and I are supposed to come tomorrow and do a little look around, so I'm not going to sneak a peek. I will wait until tomorrow. All right, now these might make it a little bit easier. My goal for today is to lay out the garden beds by using some string to mark off where I want everything to go, and then hopefully we can use the tiller to till just the garden bed areas. Now, I've never tilled this garden area before. I've been using a no-till method, However, I've read a couple places that it can actually be beneficial to till one time before putting a no-till method in place, and I would like to give the soil a little bit more loft because we do have heavy clay soil here. So I've done this before to set up my garden, but what I'm doing right now is just running a straight line off of the house that sets my measuring point for the garden so that the garden and the garden beds line up with the house whenever we lay out the garden space. Now that I've got my string line laid out, what I'm going to do is use this string line as a starting point for where I want to position my garden. I know that I want my garden to be started about 15 feet off of this line, and I'm going to create my anchor point for the garden based off of this. So I'm going to measure 15 feet off of this line, get an approximate location for where I want to start the corner of my garden, and then we will work on squaring off the corner of the garden so that everything is on a 90-degree angle. I've got my starting post set, and now we're going to make sure we can square off this rectangle that we're going to be making. So I'm going to be using the string method to make a square. We're using the Pythagorean theorem. I said that I would try not to use math when I got out of school, and yet here I am using math. But essentially we'll just create a 3-foot section of string, a 4-foot section of string, and then a 5-foot section of string. The 3-foot and the 4-foot sections are kind of like your corner, and then the 5-foot is on the diagonal, making sure that that angle does sit at 90 degrees. And now we have our 90-degree angle. Now, it doesn't have to be perfect for my garden, it just has to be close. But when all of these strings are taut, this should be a 90-degree angle for my garden. I'm planning for my garden space to be about 35 feet wide by 41 foot long. And that may seem like a very large area for a garden, but I'm making sure that I have really wide paths so that I can bring my dump trailer into here, so that I can bring a wheelbarrow through, so I can bring garden carts through, and it makes it really easy to maneuver in the space. For that, we're going to have 2 main 5-foot walkways. One is going to be going lengthwise down the center, and the other one is going to be widthwise down the center. So we'll have like a little T in the middle, both being 5 feet. And then all of the walking paths in between the rows are going to be 3 feet. So based off my starting post that we've got right here, I'm gonna go 35 feet out and 41 foot down. Now that we've got this line set, we don't need our line for the house, so I can take that down and we can work off of our line here. Now this is where our 90-degree angle comes in. Because I've already established the straight line here, we can work off of that straight line to create our 90-degree angle. So as you can see, it's not lined up right now, but I will go ahead and line this up and we can run our 35-foot section off of that. I was able to get the whole garden mapped out on each of the corners. Everything is square. So the next thing we're going to do is lay out our walkways. Mom came in to help me do this part of the build. I had some blueberries that were going to be in the way of the walkways. So we went ahead and brought out some new soil so that we could remove them, put them into containers, and get them out of the way of the walking spaces. Now initially my plan was to go ahead and lay out the walkways first, put the paper down, and then we would only till in the areas of the garden that were actually going to be plantable areas. However, after looking at all of the weeds and what was left over in the garden, my mom suggested that we just till the whole area, and I felt like that would be a lot easier. That way everything was a blank canvas. We could lay down the paper where we needed it to and put the wood chips on top of it and build the garden beds off of the areas that were already ready. I was so thankful to have Mom there helping me do this hours worth of tilling, which has us prepped for moving on to the next parts of getting our garden ready, and I am so excited to share that with y'all.